Good evening. Welcome to Loveworld USA News. I'm Barbara Sam. First, a quick look at the top stories this evening. Federal judge orders Trump administration to admit 12,000 refugees. In TSB, New York City helicopter broke apart in midair, killing 6. President Trump replaces Surgeon General nominee 1 day before Senate hearing. Nike under fire for alleged funding of hormone study on minors. Treasury Secretary Bassett, U.S. should lead a digital asset innovation. And now to the news. A federal judge appointed by former President Joe Biden has ordered the Trump administration to immediately begin processing and resettling approximately 12,000 refugees into the United States. The order issued Monday by U.S. District Judge Jamal Whitehead override President Donald Trump's executive order aimed at temporarily halting the Refugee Administration's program. The judge's ruling follows a February decision in which he blocked the administration's suspension of refugee admissions. Whitehead claimed the order effectively nullified the statutory authority granted to Congress to manage the refugee program. The administration has proposed admitting only 160 individuals and warned that in order to admit thousands would be appealed. President Trump's executive order, signed on his first day in office, directed the Department of Homeland Security to pause refugee resettlement and conduct a review within 90 days. The administration has argued that continued refugee admissions must be weighed against national security and resource concerns. Judge Whitehead gave the administration 7 days to resume processing cases and take necessary steps to facilitate the entry of those with valid clearances. The Department of Justice has not yet responded to the ruling or indicated whether an emergency appeal to the Ninth Circuit will be filed. Let's take a look.
Tuesday, a judge ordered some 12,000 refugees to be admitted into the United States. The judge ruled that while the president has some power over immigration, he can't override laws made by Congress that set up the refugee system.
Now, this decision came after refugee aid groups and individuals sued, saying a pause on the refugee admissions program hurt refugees and disrupted their services. The judge emphasized that many refugees had their plans canceled suddenly, leaving them in unsafe situations and separating families. Now the government must resume processing refugee applications for those who had already been approved before the pause.
Queen City News Chief Legal Analyst Conley Rose joins us to talk about what this means.
And federal investigators have released surveillance images showing a sightseeing helicopter in New York City breaking apart in midair before crashing into the river on April 10th, killing all 6 aboard. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, the helicopter's main fuselage separated from the tail, followed by the detachment of the rotor blades and transmission. Witnesses also reported hearing multiple loud noises prior to the aircraft's descent. The preliminary NTSB report confirms that the Bell 206L-4 helicopter experienced a mid-air structure failure. Though the cause has not yet been identified, maintenance records indicate a prior transmission issue in 2023, and the aircraft was not equipped with standard flight data or cockpit recorders. The pilot, Sneakscape Johnson, a 36-year-old former Navy SEAL, had less than 50 hours of experience in that aircraft model. The flight was operated by New York Helicopter, a company with a history of financial issues and lawsuits, and was the 8th tour flight of the day for both the helicopter and the pilot. The victims include a Spanish business executive, his wife, and their 3 young children who were visiting New York during a business trip. This crash marks the 5th fatal sightseeing helicopter accident around Manhattan since 2005. The FAA and NTSB continues to investigate, with a final report expected to determine whether maintenance practices, pilot experience, or other factors contribute to the fatality in this flight breakup. Let's take a look.
Today's report details the doomed chopper's path on the afternoon of April 10th, leaving from the Wall Street heliport just before 3, flying north to the George Washington Bridge before breaking apart about 625 to 650 feet over the Hudson River near Jersey City around 3:15. The report confirms what the video suggested. It suddenly separated into 3 major sections: the fuselage, main rotor system, and the tail boom. Retired pilot and aviation expert J.P. Tristani.
That eliminated the fact that one blade was thrown and the helicopter lost control.
The crash killed a family of 5 visiting New York from Spain and the pilot, Sean Johnson. The report revealing photos of the pilot taken just before the helicopter departed indicated that he was wearing computer-augmented sunglasses, which had video and audio recording capability.
I cannot see where those particular type of glasses would have influenced his ability to fly the aircraft.
The helicopter was on its 8th sightseeing trip that day. It had been 50 flying hours since the last inspection. The video, the eyewitnesses, and the wreckage recovered from the Hudson could hold the clues.
That's going to be critical because it could involve simply, obviously, maintenance, oversight, a crack in the fuselage.
The Trump administration has withdrawn the nomination of Jeanette Nashawat to serve as U.S. Surgeon General, just one day before her Senate confirmation hearing. President Donald Trump announced the replacement on Wednesday, naming Dr. Casey Means as the new nominee for the position. Nashawat, a former Fox News contributor, had publicly supported COVID-19 vaccination efforts and had faced criticism from conservative figures in recent days. Dr. Casey Means, a Stanford-educated physician and metabolic health advocate, will now be considered for the role. President Donald Trump praised her background and alignment with his administration's Make America Healthy Again platform. Means is expected to work closely with the Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on chronic disease prevention and nutrition reform initiatives. Nashawat's withdrawal follows a recent trend of vetting nominees for ideology consistency with the Trump administration's health agenda. The White House previously pulled Dr. Dave Weldon's nomination to lead the CDC after concerns over Senate support due to past vaccine-related statements. Nashawat had previously referred to COVID-19 vaccines as, in quote, a gift from God, in quote, in a Fox News op-ed. The U.S. Surgeon General serves as the nation's chief public health spokesperson and leads the Public Health Service Commission Corps. With a renowned focus on chronic disease and health policy reform, the Trump administration is signaling a broader shift away from previous pandemic-era health narratives. The news will be back after this break.
What a beautiful group of people. There's nowhere I'd rather be than right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Titletown, USA. If you're here today and think that you're too young to do something great, let me tell you that you're not too young. You can have great success at a very young age. I've learned that perseverance is everything, so whatever happens, no matter where you are in life, stay optimistic and just keep pushing forward. Just don't stop. Never, ever give up. This is Alabama, and in Alabama, you fight, 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 and you win, win, win. That's what you know how to do. Congratulations to you all. Congratulations to this great class of champions. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all very much.
Welcome back. Nike is reportedly funding a controversial 5-year study on the effects of puberty blockers and hormone treatments in male minors who identify as female. According to undercover calls released by advocacy group Live Action, clinics associated with the project offer to prescribe cross-sex hormones to minors as young as 16, often without parental consent or prior mental health evaluations. Critics say the study is designed to explore whether suppressing male puberty can create a more level playing field in women's sports. Medical professionals and child advocates have raised concerns, calling the research unethical and potentially harmful. The drugs involved can result in permanent infertility, stunted growth, and other irreversible consequences. This is not the first time Nike has faced backlash regarding its treatment of female athletes. In past years, high-profile Olympians, including Mary Cain and Allyson Felix, have accused the company of neglect, emotional abuse, and punitive pay cuts during pregnancy. The company has also been criticized for choosing biological males to represent women's sportswear lines. The ongoing study reflects what critics call a broader trend of undermining women's sports in the name of inclusivity. This is not healthcare, it is child abuse, said Live Action President Layla Rose. Congressional leaders are now facing renewed calls to cut federal funding to groups involved in such practices. Treasury Secretary Scott Bassett told Congress on Wednesday that the United States should become the premier destination for digital assets and blockchain innovation. Speaking before the House Financial Services Committee, Bassett said the administration is working to encourage digital asset firms to develop and scale operations within the U.S. rather than offshore. Bassett said the lack of clear regulations under the prior administration allowed unregulated and renegade ecosystems to develop overseas, which have since been exploited by illicit actors. He added that restoring U.S. leadership in digital finance is necessary to safeguard economic and national security interests. He noted that the Treasury has provided the president with a report outlining safe and sound practices for digital assets and is engaging with regulators and private industry to integrate emerging technologies within existing banking frameworks. Bassett also pointed out that digital assets could boost demand for U.S. dollar if integrated properly. The administration intends to support private sector-driven solutions for cross-border payments and stablecoin development, while discouraging public sector programs that could disrupt free markets and competition. Missouri is poised to become the first U.S. state to exempt capital gains from its income tax after the legislature gave final approval to a bill Wednesday. The measure, which now awaits Republican Governor Mike Kehoe's signature, would immediately eliminate capital gains taxes for individuals and could phase out the tax for corporations if state revenues continue to grow. Supporters say the repeal will attract investment and enhance Missouri's economic competitiveness. Lawmakers expanded the bill to include tax relief for seniors and the disabled, as well as sales tax exemptions for diapers and feminine hygiene products, helping secure enough support to pass. Missouri's moves stand in contrast to actions taken by Democrat-led states such as Maryland, Washington, and Minnesota, which have sought to raise taxes on capital gains. Currently, 32 states and the District of Columbia tax capital gains at the same rate as other income, while 8 states apply a lower rate. State analysis estimate the change could reduce annual tax revenue by approximately $262 million once fully implemented, though other projections suggest the cost could approach $600 billion. Proponents believe increased economic activity will offset the loss, while critics say the benefits will largely accrue to high-income earners. Watch this.
Missouri lawmakers passing a bill that once signed would eliminate capital gains taxes. But what is a capital gains tax?
Capital gains is the gain that you get when you make a profit. So if you buy a house for $1,000, you sell it for $2,000, then the capital gains is the $1,000 you made profit.
Richard Baker, a financial advisor, says there's pros and cons to the tax.
What we're expecting is to happen is that it will incentivize people to purchase large items and to invest in our state. It goes either way. There is the risk of losing tax revenue.
State Representative Stephanie Hyde did not vote yes or no on the bill.
I voted present on the bill because there were good pieces, like I said, the circuit breaker and the diaper tax elimination, but the capital gains tax is too risky at this point.
The bill also eliminates sales tax on diapers and feminine hygiene products, as well as tax relief for seniors, something Hyde supports.
It's just minimal when you think about the tax savings for the feminine hygiene products. That's $2 million, right? And the capital gains tax relief is $334 million.
Amy Bluden, the head of the Missouri Budget Project, says they're worried about what the lack of revenue could mean for the state going forward.
The fact is that this is coming at a time where we're going to reduce our revenue when we're already looking at significant budget challenges for the state.
The news continues after this break. Stay with us.
The world is watching. Billions of hearts, billions of souls, each one a life that matters. And every day they're being touched by the power of the gospel because you gave our dearest partners. Through the Loveworld networks, the message of our Lord Jesus is reaching further than ever before, into nations where churches are silenced, into homes where hope had disappeared, into hearts where light had never shone, into every man's world. This is the year of completeness. And truly, we are everywhere. You, our highly esteemed partners, have taken your place in this divine mission, the mandate to complete the full preaching of the gospel in all nations of the world. Through your giving, our language-specific stations are now heard in corners of the earth where no preacher has ever stepped. You sponsored airtime that transformed lives, sending light into the darkest corners. You brought the Loveworld networks into homes, schools, offices, by tagging your names to our ministry programs, sponsoring our studio upgrade around the world, and ensuring Pastor Chris in 1 billion homes is a reality. In 2025, we are taking bold steps to complete the full preaching of the gospel in our time through our Pastor Chris in 1 billion homes project. Together, we are fulfilling Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. We are marching forward, flooding the nations with the truth of God's word. Pastor Chris in 1 billion homes. No barrier is too high, no nation is too far, no home is unreachable, and the time is now. We call on our army of passionate partners across the globe. Be a part of Pastor Chris in 1 billion homes project today. Stand with the man of God. Stand with the Loveworld networks. Partner without limits. Let your giving echo into eternity. And together, let's flood the earth with the message of our Lord Jesus. For more information, please call the number showing on your screen. God bless you.
Welcome back. The College of Cardinals failed to elect a new pope Wednesday during the first round of voting in the papal conclave, as black smoke billowed from the Sistine Chapel chimney, signaling no candidate had received the required two-thirds majority. The conclave began earlier in the day following the death of Pope Francis on April 21st. A total of 133 eligible cardinals from 71 countries are participating in the secretive electoral process. The cardinals were sworn to secrecy and will remain in isolation inside the Vatican until a new pope is elected. The next voting session will take place Thursday, with up to 4 ballots allowed. Cardinals from across the globe are represented, including 53 from Europe, 37 from the Americas, and 23 from Asia. For the first time, 15 countries, including Haiti, Myanmar, and Cape Verde, are represented by the native cardinal electors. The youngest voting cardinal is 45-year-old Mikolo Bokchoy of Ukraine, while the oldest is 79-year-old Carlos Osorio Sierra from Spain. Potential frontrunners include Italian Cardinal Pietro Parolin, Filipino Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, and Hungarian Cardinal Peter Ardo. Once a candidate receives the necessary votes, while white smoke will rise from the Sistine Chapel chimney to inform the world that a new pontiff has been selected. Let's take a look. India carried out missile strikes across the line of control on Wednesday, targeting what it described as terror launch pads in Pakistan-administered Kashmir and parts of Punjab province. The action follows the killing of 26 Indian civilians, mostly tourists, in Indian-controlled Kashmir last month. India has blamed a group tied to Lashkar-e-Taiba, which it says operates with Pakistani support. Pakistan's military said the strike hit 9 locations and killed 31 civilians, including women and children. Among sites struck were 2 mosques located near facilities previously associated with banned terrorist group. Pakistan called the strikes a violation of sovereignty and claimed to have shot down 5 Indian fighter jets in response, though India has not confirmed the losses. The missile exchange triggered heavy cross-border shelling, with both nations reporting additional casualties. In Pakistan, 57 were injured and 5 more dead in shelling. On the Indian side, 12 civilians were killed and dozens wounded in Pakistan. Shelling in the Poconos and Uri sectors, debris from downed aircrafts landed in villages in both India-controlled Kashmir and India's Punjab state. The strike marks the worst military escalation between 2 nuclear-armed neighbors since 2019. Pakistan has vowed to respond, in quote, at a time and manner of its choosing, in quote, while India's defense ministry described its actions as focused on non-escalatory. U.S., UN, and Chinese officials have urged restraint as fear of further conflict grow. Just before we end the news, a quick look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And to end the news today, a quick recap of the headlines. Federal judge orders Trump administration to admit 12,000 refugees. NTSB, New York City helicopter broke apart in midair, killing 6. President Trump replaces Surgeon General nominee 1 day before Senate hearing. Nike under fire for alleged funding of hormone study on minors. Treasury Secretary Bassett, U.S. should lead in digital asset innovation. And that's the news for today. Join us at the same time tomorrow for more news. I'm Barbara Sam. Good night and God bless you.